I don't know if Lois wanted to say something first, or introduction, or,
I think I know less than most of the rest of you, but Nancy has come to us to speak this morning, and I'm so excited because I don't know what it's all going to be, but she sure has been making me interested in what's going on. So I present Nancy to tell us about Redemption Ranch.
and if you want to see the screen easier or better, feel free. Maybe it might help to close some of those shades over there, Clint, if you want to lower those, or that might help some. Thank you.
You could turn the lights off up here.
Oh.
too.
Okay.
So I am a transplant here from South Dakota. I married my husband Randy Zollner 4 years ago, and other than that, I was actually born and raised on a farm in North Dakota. As I was talking to Lois this morning, I'm also a Norwegian from North Dakota. So I spent my middle school years, my parents got divorced, so I ended up in the Black Hills of South Dakota, graduated from south of Rapid City in Hot Springs, and then did my undergrad. I went to school to be a teacher, and then ended up back around I took the first job that I could get, which was in Volga, South Dakota, and taught at a Christian school, because in 2003, there was lots and lots of people applying for teaching jobs, and so you just said yes to to keep going. And I initially was teaching middle school science. I ended up insisted in South Dakota, and so I've kind of been in a few different places up there. Ended up when I moved to Wabasso, teaching at Westbrook, Walnut Grove, and had to put my career on pause. My husband was deathly ill with COVID last year. October 28th will be a momentous day. It was the day I took him to the emergency room, thinking I was going to come back and pick him up, which I did. That same night, they sent him home, and then he went back in for 51 days on October 30th. And we didn't, the outlook was not for his life to continue. So God had different plans, and we persevered through that. And as I worked with my colleagues at work, God was clearly showing me that it was farming that I needed to help my husband with. It took him 8 days to learn how to walk again. That's a whole nother long story, but so I am, because of that weird transition and being at home and helping him get back to health, the ranch really was able to take off because I was at home, and so in between helping him, I was able to get more paperwork and all that kind of stuff done that you don't see, that's behind the scenes of ministries and things like that. So how many of you, outside of knowing that I was coming today, have actually heard of Redemption Ranch? A few people. Okay, good. I feel like I've been shouting it from the mountaintops, and I go places and they're like, I've never heard of you. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but now you have. So go tell some more people. So this is my clan. My hubby, Randy, is in the middle. A lot of people know the Zollners. I'm probably related to them, or he is. We are a blended family. My 2 boys that I had in my previous marriage, so the one on your far right, that's my son and his fiance. They'll be getting married next October, so I'll be gaining a daughter-in-law next year. And then my teenager, Zeb, who goes to school at Westbrook, Walnut Grove. He's a freshman this year. Randy and I have a 2-year-old little whippersnapper. She's probably in a tractor right now somewhere combining corn with him today. So that's kind of what our mixed life looks like as we run around and keep up with kids and our farming lifestyle. I grew up on a farm, so I've lived farming my whole life. So the ranch itself started with a book. And if you would have known me 20 years ago, I didn't read books. I just didn't have time to read. It wasn't a passion of mine. Like some people are book lovers. And I had gotten a book called Hope Rising by Kim Meter in the mail during a wild part of my life. I was working I was teaching and waitressing and doing different jobs and trying to keep up with kids. And one blizzardy day, I took the book out of my shelf and I couldn't put it down. It was, so Kim Meter is the founder, her and her husband, of Crystal Peaks Youth Ranch out in Bend, Oregon. And the story is about true stories that she had experienced on her ranch out in Bend, Oregon. So they rescue horses and they pair them with broken kids, is kind of how they word it. They have horses, every horse that they have has a story of some kind. One of them had several gunshot wounds, and like God literally took this horse, put Kim and Troy in the horse's midst, brought it back to health, and it's now ministering to kids. And I mean the stories that are in the book of the atrocities that the kids have went through that are being paired up with these other horses. One of their horses on the ranch is named Bear. He's in one of my future pictures. He came out of a place up by Canada, and bears had gotten him, so he has part of his hind end missing when they had saved him, and he is working with kids who, so it's just neat how the stories of the horses and their comeback has been used to inspire kids. So as I'm reading this book and just sobbing, I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. But I wasn't anywhere near like horse ministry, like, but I knew like then, like the fire got started. So what I did ever since then, the little fire that was burning, I had just kept taking the next step. It was a few years in between that book, because that book was about 17 years ago, I think. I still have the book and the bookmark that she sent me in the mail. And I've since thanked her, like, you have no idea what that book did. So in I think it was 2017, that top picture, I went to Crystal Peaks Youth Ranch. They hold a similar ministry training once a year, generally in the spring, for people who are interested in starting ranches similar to theirs. They have a whole 3 days set aside where they give you a giant booklet full of all the stuff that works and all the stuff that didn't work for them, so you can save yourself some headache. They're just so gracious. Crystal Peaks actually started as a volcanic pit. They're up in the I mean, it was literally a rock pit. When you look at the pictures of the where it was, they Kim or Troy, I can't remember. They were landscapers, so they would bring like dead leaves and grass clippings and stuff so they could plant grass in the future, because otherwise it was just cinder rocks everywhere. And it's incredible to see the transformation. So that was kind of the first step that I took. And then since then, I also have taken faith-based equine assisted philosophy, which is a whole bunch of letters thrown together, but there's lots and lots of things out there. Equine assisted learning. People, psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors work with kids and people all over the country. And one of the most renowned programs is called the OK Corral series by Greg Kirstens. And this gal worked side by side with Greg and took his program and put the Holy Spirit with it. So we use the equine assisted learning pieces, but we know that the one counselor that we're seeking is God, and we use horses and we ask the Holy Spirit, what do you want me to see today? A horse can sense your heartbeat 6 to 8 feet away before you ever get near the horse. So there's a lot of times when kiddos or people are working with horses, you can just tell by the way my horse is either uptight or super relaxed, like what might be going on. And so that's a lot of the process too when we're working with horses. You have to have yourself under control before you can work with a 1,200-pound animal. So those are some of the next steps that I've taken. My biggest takeaway from Crystal Peaks was the 3 things that they left us with: pray, listen, and do. Going out there was life-changing for me, and they could have said, this is what you need to do, but they didn't. They said, you need to go back to wherever you're going, and you need to pray to God. Listen to what he's telling you to do, and do what he tells you to do. Because there's nothing that we can tell you that's correct, because we don't know what your calling is for your life. So, as I've transformed some of the pieces of where God has had me in teaching, I've taught everything from kindergarten to 12th grade. I would have never guessed all those years ago that that was for a purpose. And it wasn't because I was going to be teaching in a high school or a middle school or an elementary school. It was because God was going to be bringing me 5-year-olds and 17-year-olds all in the same summer that he wants me to share his gospel with. Sometimes we use the gospel, we speak the gospel with the Bible in front of us, and sometimes we just do it by showing them that we love and care about them. So all these years, as I've been waiting for how's this going to happen and how's this going to work, I went back. This is actually the cross that overlooks Crystal Peaks Youth Ranch. You climb this, it's a fairly decent hillside, and it overlooks 3 Sisters in Bend, Oregon. It's absolutely, I should have had a picture of the other side of this, but, so my purpose all along has been horses. This is me in all these pictures, this little whippersnapper hauling kids around, and it was eye-opening for me as this has been since I've established the ranch. And when I went back to try to find pictures of myself as a kid, this is what I found, and I'm like, I've been doing this all along. There's a reason why I love it so much, because this is what I was supposed to be, this is what I was created to do. So I've always been showing horses to kids. I still am grateful. Westbrook Walnut Grove, I have an FFA horse team, so I still get to share my teaching and my talents with the school and horses. So I founded it, this would be 4 years ago. So I read all the paperwork, get all the nonprofit status things going, and then COVID hits. Perfect timing, right? So I'm like, did I hear you clearly? Or, like, you question a lot of stuff when you've done all these things, and then you're like, what am I doing? So I prayed, listened, and did what God told me to do. And that year, all the vacation Bible schools were shut down. And I hadn't made a lot of connections here because I was teaching in Westbrook. And like my own community, I hadn't made a lot of connections because I was always working. So when I would get home, it was do stuff on the farm, and I hadn't met a lot of people that had volunteers out and this kind of thing. So our first year, we basically did vacation Bible school because that's what we were allowed to do. We were outside. We had small groups, and a lot of them were families already. So that was under the stipulations, we were good to go that way. And then I volunteered at another ranch. There's a similar ministry in Mountain Lake that uses horses, and I had met up with her. God handpicked us and threw us together, and I thought I really would like to see how ministry looks with horses on the volunteer side. And so she had a well-established ranch, and I was able to spend my summer working as a volunteer there, and we held our vacation Bible schools, and that was year 1. And then year 2, things loosened up a lot as far as our stipulations and stuff, but things were still pretty, you had to be careful, and there was new regulations all the time that you were trying to keep up with. So, and now this year was great. We have something around 70-ish kids I think we've had through the ranch this year, not including their families and siblings and stuff like that. And we have one group for sure that's hoping to come before it gets too cold out. So we have a statement of faith that all of our board of directors, volunteers are under. We're not under any specific denomination. What we use during our lessons for our Bible studies is a Bible. We read from the Word. That's our truth standard. We're not trying to, like, we have horses and then shove Jesus under it. Like, our umbrella is sharing God's love, and we get to use horses as a tool. So our vision is shedding the love and light of Jesus to kids and their families, and our mission stems from 4 words. As I sat and pondered, God, what do you really want me to do? When I came back from Crystal Peaks, my heart and the heart of Redemption Ranch came from Isaiah 58. There's a lot in there. It starts after I think it's verse 11. You will be like a well-watered spring, and underneath of that, there's 4 words that just kept like jumping out into myself, and it's redeem, rebuild, repair, and restore. So the foundation of Redemption Ranch is that everybody that comes to the ranch hears Jesus' name and knows that our saving grace comes from him and him alone. It's not from the horses or anything that we do, it's from Jesus. And we use God's word. We're hoping to spread peace and joy. The root of restore is actually story. And I love that piece because we have kids, the only requirement of the kids that come to the ranch is that they want to come. But we have kids that come from great, everything looks great in their life. And then we have other kids who are really in a place of brokenness. And whether you're got it all together today or in a place of brokenness, we all have to try to scramble through life. And we're just hoping to plant those seeds of Christ's love, and the only one who truly can redeem our story and get us back on the right track. So that's kind of where we came from. Our mentors, our goal really is sharing the love of Christ and doing the Great Commission. Our mentors, some of them have worked with horses, some of them have not worked with horses. We have now started a the mentor day. After this last season, God really laid it on my heart. I work with some other ministries as well, just to get ideas, and we just work together. Iron sharpens iron. But I felt it was really a need to bring our mentors in. At least we're going to do it once a month until next year, and spend the day doing whatever. Bible studies. Some of them would like to get more horse time themselves, but just pouring back into them because they're the ones that are pouring out for us. So it's just a really nice day to get together and have fellowship with each other, grow together as a team, pray for the kids and pray for each other. I'm really excited to see how this grows, because it's so easy to be busy and doing God's work, but just this day of rest and coming together. We're possibly in the summertime going to do like once a week, because we meet more regularly during the summer, but we'll see, however God leads. This is actually a picture of the horses at Crystal Peaks. And we do the same. We paint on horses a lot. The kids always go to work. What? They have words printed on theirs. You'll see I have a couple slides where the kids are painting on our horses. The arid place there and their beautiful fences. But they did sessions in Oregon. We have established what we call camps. During our camp time, the kids will do some kind of chore after our devotion. So we all meet as a whole group doing a devotion, and then we do anything from raking up some hay. It's not like it's like 5 to 10 minutes, but it's a way of working together, working as a team, and giving back to the animals that are giving to us. And then so previously what we would do is after our devotion time, we would split into 2 groups, and half of our kids would go and spend the time with their mentor and the horses, and the other half of the kids would do a craft like painting, leather work. That we did a lot of painting and leather work. And then we would flip-flop, and we're hoping to be able to do 1-to-1. So one kid, one mentor, one horse. That's our future dream. We've increased our horse herd from 2 to 6, which also means I have a lot more things to do as far as upkeep on my end. I have more horses to keep riding and keep in shape and to keep, ready for kids to come and learn with them. So we'll see how God continues to lead. We started with no mentors. It was just me and the Vacation Bible School pastor, and then I had one, and then this last year I had 7 mentors. So as God continues to open the door, we just keep taking the next step and doing what He's called us to do. We did a Vacation Bible School this summer as well. We had, there was lots of kids. I can't remember off the top of my head how many kids you had there, but that was fun too. It's just a way of reaching out. We had some kids who go to church all the time come, and some kids who don't particularly go to church come. So it was good to just reach out and meet some new people. So I have 2 stories to tell you. First I'll share, so the picture on your left, we didn't have any days that were too hot that we couldn't do stuff, but on days when it is too hot to be maybe particularly riding the horses, we give them baths and play water games. So overall, the weather's been awesome. We usually have our camps in the later evenings. There was only one day that I had to cancel all year due to weather. And this Monday, my husband and I are putting up an indoor arena and a new bar. So we shouldn't, unless it's lightning like crazy, we shouldn't ever have to cancel due to weather in the future. The bottom picture, we do also have, I have another large group that's waiting to come this year too. People have reached out and just said, we would like to bring a group of this out. Can you accommodate us? And we kind of ask them what they're looking for. We usually do a craft of that because they can only have so many kids around the horses at one time. So the craft time is usually to tie something together. And that's me doing simple. I usually teach simple horsemanship stuff, parts of the saddle, parts of the horse, and then there's this little girl was painting. It turned it out really cute. She did a giant smiley face on this horse. But anyway, this story that I'd like to tell you is about what I call a silent girl. We had reached out to a group home that was coming down on days that we had worked out with them. And I really like to get to know people's names. It drives me crazy when I can't remember people's names, and when I have to say like, oh, you in the green shirt, like, drives me nuts. So as we gather around before we do the devotion, I try to remember everybody's name. And as I'm doing this, simple questions like just icebreakers. What's your favorite fall activity, or what's your favorite food? Just something so they have something to say, and just to break the ice. This particular individual said nothing. When this kiddo came, we were all in our group, and the hood's up over the head, can't see anything, and I was like, oh, okay. All right, and you're asking this person, what's your name? Nothing. Okay. So I just move on, not to make anybody feel uncomfortable. And I'm not quite sure what was all going in that individual's life, but I knew it was not good, given the situation and the circumstances why the kid was there that day. So as we're leaving, and we split off, two students with the mentor, and then they went to pick their horses. And it's also really cool how kids pick their horse. Like, the personalities of the horses are all different, and so are the personalities of all my horse. They're all like their own. We have really introverted horses, and I have really extroverted horses. We have really introverted kids, and we have really extroverted kids. So this particular student went to my personal mare, who I've spent a lot of hours with doing stuff. And I wasn't working particularly with her, so she was working with her mentor. And I look over, and she's this close to my horse. And she talked to my horse the entire time. I applied for a grant this year from the International Bible Givers, and all the kids that wanted a Bible were able to get a Bible this year before they left. That day, she didn't take one. We actually, that was our opening day working with these kids, so we were just kind of getting to know everybody. And before she left, the hood came down. There wasn't a lot of conversation with people. It was mostly with the animal. I'm not sure what happened that day, but I know for sure that there was something going on there. The second time that she came back, she took a Bible for herself, and she also asked for one for her sibling. So it was really, really humbling to see simple transformation in the life of a kid. And it wasn't because of anything we did, it was because of what God did through the horses. They just opened up that talking, I guess. It was a safe individual. And this is my fjord, my Norwegian fjord. She's a Norwegian. They come from Norway. Actually, most people don't like her in the spring because she kind of gets like a polar bear. And she sheds like crazy. So if you're brushing her, you're going to get a mouthful of hair. And anyway, so this horse has got hope written on him. This group of kids were just doing simple, like how to tack up and that kind of thing. But this story is about Heidi. So there was a little kiddo that came, and her favorite horse was Heidi. We usually let them work with the same horse. If they don't make a connection with them, they don't have to work with them the second time. But usually there's some kind of connection there with whatever horse they pick, and they kind of call them their own, which is always fun. But this particular little kid, the second or third time she was coming, came running out of the car up to me, and she had this super cute little picture of a horse she had colored, and it was really nice, and she gave me $1.25. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I grabbed, put it all in my stack of things, and later I was like, I didn't know she was trying to pay for a water or something that day, and we don't charge for anything, so I messaged her mom later just because I wanted her to know, even if it's $1.25, that I was given $1.25. And her mom messaged me back and said, I just want you to know that she earns her own money. She has her own allowance, and out of her own self, wanted to donate $1.25 to the ranch so that other kids could hear about Jesus. And I was shaken by that, because I'm like, Lord, help me to live with $1.25. That everything I have or what I'm earning is to you and for the benefit of others. It was, a little kid. So most of the time, these kids leave me with more of an impact than I feel like I'm ever giving them. It's been a wonderful season. We are looking for more volunteers. One of the questions that we asked at the end of our sessions this year was, how we can better serve people. I know we need to do more days. Last year we just pretty much did Tuesdays, and then we had a special group that was coming on Fridays. We have 7 people. I know everybody's got super busy schedules, so we're trying to figure out a way to make it so mentors can come and make a connection with the kid. We really would like it kind of like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I know some people kind of understand that program where you really, for a kid, find somebody that they can feel comfortable, hanging out with every week. But I know people don't want to sign up for the whole summer. So if you know of people who are interested in coming or interested in being a mentor, we would love to have more people even just come out and learn, would this even work for me? There's nothing saying like you're signed up for life. So I can answer any questions that you have later, because
We're not as pressed. We don't have to run to another service.
I know.
Now, so.
Do you want me to do questions now, or do you want me to do them downstairs?
Do some now.
Okay. I feel like that one was way more fast forwarded from. I can talk all day, so. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do a lot of folks only just come once, or they come throughout the whole summer?
Great question. So, as we've been building our program, initially we had a few of them where you could just come for like 1 or 2 sessions because some people, people didn't know who we were either. So a lot of people were maybe reluctant to sign their kids up because they hadn't heard of us and that kind of thing. We are kind of going to move away from that. So we had the 6-week sessions that people would sign up for, that they would come for it. It would be every other week is how we did it, for 90 minutes at a time. And then we had a few sessions that they could sign up for that were just maybe June only or just August only. As our mentor group got together, we really would like to do more long-term instead of just the 1 or 2 times, because the relationships are just not there in 1 or 2 times. I'm hoping, maybe we can do like a craft day or something where it would just be a 1-day sign up for people who are interested in coming out and don't have a Tuesday or something, I think we're probably gonna keep it to 6 weeks at a time. There are so many people and so many things that I think beyond 6 weeks is hard for many people to commit to, it seems to be what works out best. This last summer we did Ephesians 6, and so there was 6 pieces of armor for 6 weeks. We just did Ephesians 6 and the armor of God, and every week we did 1 more piece, and it was really fun actually how I was able to tie our devotional in with the horses. So some of the devotions I actually did with the horse, so I have a horse that's blind in 1 eye, and it was really, he's got so much to share with kids, because faith is all about not sight, right? It's like living by faith and not by sight. So Jigs is so much fun to use because I work with him on his blind side. So when I make him do, when I lunge him I do all sorts of stuff with him on his blind side, he has to 100% listen to what I'm telling him. And that opens a whole fun door of talking to kids about, how do we hear God? Because I can talk to this horse, but God, how do I hear God? Because it says we hear him, but so all like these, and I tell the kids too, I totally believe that when God created horses, he knew we were going to be doing this today, and talking about his word and trying to relate it to a horse. When you're in the belt of truth, in some of the Bible versions it actually says, cinch up your belt. We were talking about the cinch and how does that relate? It's in the middle, it's in the center of you, that you need to be centered in the Word of God. So I could go off on that too, but it's been so much fun to take a Bible verse and say, God, how do you want me to share this? How do you want me to teach this kid about you and this verse? And he always opens the door, every time.
Are these horses given to you by people who have, injured horses?
So I started with 2, and my 2 horses came with me from South Dakota. Actually, so there's been nothing living on our farm since 1975, where my husband's at. And just, so when I met him online, first 2 conversations, I'm like, Randy, this is what I know God's calling me to do. If you're not interested, he's never ridden a horse in his life. If you're not interested in horses or doing like what I'm doing, don't waste my time or yours. So he was forewarned, just so everybody knows that. And so my 2 horses actually stayed out in South Dakota my first year here when my son took care of them. And then I brought them over after we planted pasture and put up a fence. And then last year I had 3, and one of them she just didn't work out. She just didn't work out. Anyway, so now so the ranch owns 1 horse, that's the blind-eyed one, that we ended up, we got a good deal on him for the ranch, and then the other ones have all been purchased by myself.
How many horses would you will we say you want and need? Is that?
Don't ask my husband that question. I love all different colors. I love no. So physically, now that we have 6, I have to clean up after 6 horses. And being so like right now, our barn's getting put up. We have a smaller pen. I'm cleaning it like every day, so that just to keep everything nice and clean. We have also started a lesson program, which is completely separate from our camp program. We had lots of people asking and calling and messaging me about doing a lesson program, and I reached out to other ranches. So we actually had something called the Midwest Bounty Roundup in April, I think it was. So some of the other similar ranches that are doing what we do got together at Ironwood Springs. There was 27 ranches from the Midwest that came there, and I was like, where have all these, there was my people. There was more horse crazies like myself, who all love Jesus and are doing all horse related ministries in the Midwest. And it was from Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota. And so we have all started communing together and making connections and sharing what works and what doesn't work. So as far as like how many horses, I just have to be obedient to what God's asking me to do. And right, I mean, we're currently looking at possibly, like we have my Norwegian fjord who, I have an elderly horse population. I have a 21-year-old gelding who's non-rideable. He's got arthritis. He's a great horse for kids to learn leading, and we build obstacle courses and the painting and that kind of stuff. He's non-riding. My Norwegian fjord is 21. My little POA, Pony of America, mare, she's 21 as well. And then I got a little pony. We just bought Dusty. He's so cute. He's a pony, so he's like awesome. So we just got him 6 weeks ago maybe, and we'll be doing lessons and stuff with him. He's 16, and then I just got another horse. Now the reason why I just got all these other 2 horses in the horse world, the fall and the spring are like huge horse times. People are done with their horses from the state fairs or whatever, and their kids are going off to college, so lots of people sell horses in the fall, and lots of people sell horses in the spring. So that's part of the reason why I ended up with the 2 this fall, because it was God ordained. I'm really excited for both of them to become a part of our ministry. So. I'll be downstairs if you would like to chat. I would love to chat horses and Jesus. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me today.